Hello everyone. I'm going to tie up a Pteronarcis californica nymph now, which is the Salmonfly Nymph. I have a 3XL number 6 nymph hook in the vise, and I'm going to actually give it a bend to simulate the swimming nymph. The easiest way to do this is to take another pair of forceps, take a lighter, just give it a little bit of heat there. And take another pair of forceps and just bend it up slightly. If you go slow, you shouldn't break it, especially on these heavier cage hooks. So now I'll take my thread, which is 8/0 unithread. I'm just going to lay a base down. What I want to do is make sure I cut off some of it to be used for our tail here. So this is a 35 to 40 millimeter size nymph of the body length. So I'm using a number 6. You can use a number 4 or number 6. Also, I tie this in both brown and black, depending on the species. In Montana and Idaho, I find they're very black color, like on the Firehole, Madison, and Henry's Fork rivers. They start on the Henry's Fork about mid-May, and they move up the river to Riverside, and then they jump up to the Box Canyon in early June. So now what we're going to do, we're going to make our tail, and we're using American hen, whiting American hen. This is mottled gray color. For our tail, we're going to tie a large section of these fibers in. We're going to tie them in divided on each way. In other words, you can tie them in and then split them, but I find it's better to tie them in first and then split it and make sure they stay split like that. So we got it angled like that. Take another section of these for the other side. And then we'll tie that at an angle as well. Now to make sure they stay split, we'll take that thread. We'll just pull it up between them. You can see how they're split there. So these salmonfly nymphs are the most important part of the hatch. As they migrate to shore to hatch out of the water, trout will be waiting along the banks and gorging themselves on these even more than the adults, even though most people prefer to fish the adults because it's more visceral. Okay, now we're going to take some CNC sewing thread here. This will be for ribbing. Okay, now we're going to take some black rabbit dubbing. And we're going to use a dubbing loop for this. Salmonfly nymphs don't have really many features to them. They're just large black bugs. And you want a lot of movement. They're not good swimmers, but they move their legs a lot as they're migrating to shore, and you want to get that imitation of that movement in them. The ribbing will just give us sort of a little bit of segmentation and a little contrast. Okay, at this point I'm going to make this pick out the abdomen a little more to make it a little bit larger, taper to the front. Okay, next we're going with another whiting American hen mottled gray. And this is going to imitate the legs of the nymph. This is a very good feather. It has a fine stem all the way down the feather, which means you can use the entire feather. Without it building up too much stem. Don't be afraid to make this hackle collar large, because this is a bug that should be imitated with a lot of movement. So it's okay to overdress it, is what I'm trying to say here. Okay, now we're going to move up to the front, the thorax area. So this rabbit fur will absorb a lot of water, and it will help keep the fly sunken. If you want to make a heavier nymph, like again, this doesn't have to be fished. This is really for the hatches, so it's not going to be fished in super deep water. It's going to be fished along the banks. And so when you fish along the banks, you're not going to be, but maybe, 10 inches deep. If you want to fish this as a prospecting nymph in deeper water, not as a match the hatch fly necessarily during the hatch events, you just could add a bead thorax right behind the head here. Or you could add more weight under the body just with some copper wire or lead-free wire. So we have a very buggy fly here with a lot of movement to it. We're going to add a little couple antenna on this. So I'm not going to take as many fibers as I did for the tail, but I'm going to take a few of them. And then I'm going to split them. And there's our finished salmonfly nymph. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.